Hello, my name is Siuda, and I am a senior in Distinguished Scholars Visual Arts. I completed a sustained investigation and portfolio for AP Studio Art 2D design about anxiety in my daily life. My guiding question for my portfolio changed a few times throughout the school year. It started off very general, focusing on one of my favorite art styles as Zentangle, but I soon figured out that it would be hard to have any deep substantial value with just that. Of course, later I found ways to integrate a Zentangle somewhere into my piece because I couldn't completely let that go. Anyways, I then moved on to a question that has greatly impacted me throughout my life, and that is, of course, anxiety. I thought it'd be kind of therapeutic to get all of those thoughts out of my head and onto paper. I was thinking that would include all the negative and maybe positive thoughts. However, later I would find out that I didn't enjoy creating things with those negative thoughts as much as I would have thought. So I decided to focus on positive in the last question. There have been many different things throughout my life I've done to calm my nerves, and I know I would enjoy revisiting them. Some of my favorite pieces I made this year came out of that question, and I am so glad I made my way to it. Nonetheless, all these questions have their own merit, and I am so glad that I explored each one this year. Side note, even though each piece is connected to a guiding question, I still have a current question for each piece. Even from the beginning, before I knew my question would be about anxiety, I knew that Zentangles help me relax and boost my self-esteem. I talk about it on the picture on the left. It is so cool to see the seedling about the anxiety idea form here. Anyways, I was having a lot of trouble figuring out what I wanted my first Zentangle to be about, as you can see with the various sketches. I eventually decided on something season related, but I would still incorporate aspects of the sketches all throughout my projects, specifically the checkered one later on. I was inspired by a fall Zentangle I had done in the past and started writing things down that reminded me of the other seasons on the picture on the right. Also, these colors remind me most of each season. Here are the final pieces and piece that inspired them, being the black one in the bottom right corner. It was so much fun to splatter paint with my favorite colors again. You could also connect that to a stress reliever because when you splatter paint, you let all your bottled up anger and frustration out in a creative and productive way. It is so cool to see another seedling for the anxiety idea formed by this project. Anyways, after I was finished splatter painting, I took the tape off the Japanese symbols and started zentangling things that remind me of my favorite activities that I would do during their seasons. I always love doing small, repetitive drawings. This next piece is where I started purposely focusing on anxiety. First off, I thought of all the different ways you can represent anxiety through various symbols I have seen throughout my life. I wrote down everything I could think of in relation to something I might feel when I am feeling very anxious in numerous different situations. I wanted every single symbol or drawing I put into this Zentangle to have a deep meaning to something I've experienced. Also, I'm not utterly hopeless all the time, so I decided to also include things I do to combat these negative feelings, and a few things I strive to be. Anyways, you can see on the sketch on the left some symbols that I would later decide to include in the partially done piece on the right. You might think it was done, but no, there is one last big step. Here is my second finished piece. I was inspired to do this sort of weaving pattern by a YouTube video by Suzanne McNeil. I thought the cover-up look could represent how you never truly know the whole story of what someone is going through, and you can only once in a while get a glimpse of what they truly might be feeling on the inside. The symbols I thought of range from things like a stereotypical rain cloud to the piece of nothing, because I have no idea what to say when socializing with people. When I am anxious with those sort of thoughts, I might go to an app on my phone called Wobot, or my dog Kipper, which I also made sure to include. Anxiety is very complicated, and I think that shows in this multi-layered Zentangle. This next piece started off as a forced connection assignment that we did in class one day. The middle picture shows that we had to come up with words for each section, but in a limited amount of time. I ended up choosing colorful and clothing, not even knowing that would turn into a story I could relate to. I guess what you know best is what comes to mind when you are under pressure. I ended up drawing some sketches on the left, what my mom makes me feel like when we go clothes shopping, and what I wish she would have let me pick out. As you can see on the right, I was working with Posca markers, a new material that I have never worked with before. I didn't have Posca marker that matched my skin tone, so I had to mix two different colors together. I would say it worked out well, except for two minor problems. There were weird chunks that were forming on my face when blending. Also, it was a little hard to get all three parts of my body the same color, but after numerous trial and error, it eventually worked out. This is my third finished piece. It shows me feeling like a robot because my mom wouldn't let me wear the clothes that truly represent me. My self-esteem is then lowered because no one could be confident in some of the outfits she picks out. I start to overthink every little detail that makes me anxious over something that could have easily been avoided. It's a dangerous cycle that could have easily been avoided. But no, because boys can't wear that. Also, whenever I get in an argument with my mom, she never sees my side, so the best way for it to be a little less heated and not have my anxiety go completely out of control is to say, okay, yes, etc., in a monotone voice. Very robotic-like. She was forcing me to be a robot when I want to be so much more. This is art piece number 4. It was a one-day project, so there wasn't much prep put into it beforehand. It's a very freestyle piece by making whatever you want out of watercolor drips. I ended up seeing people walking and tried to base their clothes on some drips too. Anyways, this piece represents different people trudging through daily life and how they're really feeling in the background. Anxiety can affect all sorts of different people and everyone deals with their problems in different ways. However, they still must walk along the road of life like nothing is going on. Everything is fine, is what they always have to say to the ongoers because they don't know how to express themselves when they try to. They get ridiculed. Nobody likes to get ridiculed. That's why they don't have mouths, because they are truly saying nothing, or would be better saying nothing at all. They have a bunch of stored up emotion and still look like they are fine. However, they frankly are not. This piece started out when we picked out a random bottle from a box for an assignment. I chose the bottle that you see in the middle. The two things I saw with it were something like the old milk bottles back in the day or a vase. You can see those two different ideas on the left. I ended up going with the milk bottle idea because Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons has a similar milk bottle in some of their games, and I thought it would be fun to explore more about why I like this game so much. I ended up deciding I wanted to add more animals and animal products to make it more of a ranch scene. You can see which animals I was considering on the right. They are all so cute. This is my 5th finished art piece. The old style of Harvest Moon is very relaxing and repetitive, the perfect combination for me when I have a rough day at school or are feeling a little anxious. Get up early each morning, go to the barn, feed the animals, milk the cows, shear the sheep, go to the coop, feed the chicken, collect the eggs, let the animals outside, do some farming, and put them back inside. It is always nice to go back to something that I know how to do. I don't have to do any hard thinking and make my anxiety worse. Farming activities, I would say, increases my dopamine, which then increases happiness and reduces undesirable emotions. I don't even know if I could count all the times this game has helped me with my anxiety, but I know for sure it was worth getting into and playing. After doing the piece based around Harvest Moon, I remembered there are so many other games that I've played over the years that have helped me with my anxiety. After seeing a few pieces of Kyle Johnson's drawing everything he had owned in his house, I thought I could do a similar idea, but with various Nintendo-related things. First, you can see in the middle I wrote down all my favorite handhelds and consoles that I thought would be the most important. Then I decided that if I wanted this to be on a truly grand scale, I should include important game symbols too. After that, I moved on to the sketches on the right, but wasn't sure yet if these sections would be separate or all together. I eventually decided in the end that the best option would be to combine all 3 sketches together for the final. This is my 6th final art piece and definitely the biggest one I have made this year. Video games in general are helpful for my anxiety because they provide a different focus for my thoughts by my concentration needing to be focused on the game. I can put aside things that could go wrong in the real world for a little bit because there are achievements and goals in the game that take up space in my brain instead. I feel more confident and advantageous after completing those things. I feel the challenges anxiety showed to me earlier might be my favorite now, and sometimes take a risk and see what happens. I'm so thankful for games like Pokemon, Mario, Animal Crossing, and others because at different points in my life a different game has helped me. I've been a completely different, more anxious person if I had never discovered the power of video games. This piece started when my class was assigned to make a piece for the MLK project. I had no idea what to do, so I started making the mind map about Martin Luther King on the right. It eventually connected to anxiety, so I then knew I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyways, I moved on to the mind map on the center and finally found my perfect idea, getting anxious at a piano concert. This idea would eventually grow to be a more positive spin on it, and how piano can actually help me calm my anxiety, and then I could spread my joy of music to other people. When I started sketching on the left, I thought it'd be fun to actually spread the music, so people started passing it around. Also, I ended up using black and orange because black is the color of music and orange is a happy color and and showed movement the best. It was fun to work with a limited color scheme and give emphasis to certain things. This is my final completed work, and it turned out great. Like many other things I do, piano is a nice distraction from the anxious thoughts racing through my head. When I start to play, I get this immediate feeling of joy. When shared, the sound becomes a contagious energy and hopefully distracts some other people from their anxious thoughts or at least changes their mood. Also, as an anxious person, I tend to have trouble socializing, so I tend to be quite introverted. However, as I play the piano, I tend to make some loud sounds, so in my own special way, I get to be kind of extroverted. Introverts are represented by rest in music, while extroverts can be various notes and sounds. I love to be a little different while playing the piano and impacting everyone with various different tunes. Reflection time, give more time. I would like to expand on these ideas and create a few more pieces, but yeah, you know. Also, I would have liked to plan out my pieces for longer and have a few more sketches. There were some where that was really lacking. I didn't really have that many. Finally, I think I was able to adequately explore what anxiety truly means to me in my daily life. I learned a lot about myself in this process, and I am so happy I went on this journey. Thank you for listening. I hope you had a good time.